1 minute ago, something extraordinary unfolded on a high street that was supposed to be ordinary. Not a bank, not a warehouse, a Greggs. Shelves cleared, staff frozen, and thousands of pasties taken in full view. No alarms, no masks, no hesitation. What looked absurd at first glance now signals something far more serious. This was not about hunger, this was about confidence. And once confidence in consequences disappears, everything else follows. This incident did not arrive out of nowhere. In the past year alone, recorded shoplifting offences surged to nearly 444,000 across England and Wales, the highest figure ever documented. That works out to more than 1,200 thefts every single day, or one every 71 seconds. Those numbers matter because they show frequency, not rarity. When crime becomes predictable, it becomes manageable for offenders. Retail theft is no longer a risk calculation, it is an expectation. That shift in rhythm is what allowed a Greggs store to be stripped without resistance. When theft feels normal, boldness follows naturally, and once boldness becomes routine, the next step is escalation. London has become the epicenter of this trend. More than 102,000 shoplifting cases were logged in the capital alone, marking a rise of over 42% in just 12 months. That kind of growth is not gradual, it is explosive. Staff now begin their shifts already tense, shutters half lowered, eyes fixed on doors rather than customers. The city's density means offenders learn quickly which stores respond and which simply absorb losses. Greggs stores designed for speed and accessibility have become easy targets. When urban volume meets weakened deterrence, theft stops hiding, and once theft stops hiding, it starts performing. At the Wood Green Greggs, offenders walked in during the morning rush and took food directly from the shelves without paying. There was no panic, no disguise, and no rush to escape. Staff were instructed not to intervene, not to challenge, and not to follow. This was not disorder, it was confidence on display. When offenders act calmly, they signal control. That calmness is contagious. It tells others watching that nothing will happen. In that moment, the store ceased to be a business and became a stage, and stages attract repeat performers. Repeat offending is now central to the crisis. One individual connected to multiple thefts at the same Greggs location was arrested repeatedly, banned nationwide from the chain, and yet returned. Court records show no lasting deterrent. Each release was followed by another offense. That pattern sends two messages. To staff, it confirms that reporting changes nothing. To offenders, it proves the system can be tested endlessly. Once repetition carries no penalty, boundaries dissolve. And when boundaries dissolve, intimidation fills the gap. Abuse against retail workers has surged alongside theft. More than 70% report verbal aggression, while nearly half say they have been threatened. Knife-related incidents have risen sharply, appearing earlier and more frequently in confrontations. Workers are instructed to step back rather than risk injury. That instruction, while understandable, removes the final obstacle. The shop floor becomes undefended territory. Offenders sense it instantly. This is not desperation, it is opportunism sharpened by experience, and opportunism thrives when enforcement feels distant. Police response statistics have quietly reshaped behavior. Nearly 290,000 shoplifting cases were closed last year without a suspect identified. Fewer than 18% resulted in a charge. Those figures are widely understood on the street. Offenders know the thresholds, they know response times, they know the odds. When enforcement becomes selective, crime becomes strategic. Theft turns into a calculated routine rather than a gamble. And when strategy replaces fear, scale follows. The financial impact is staggering. Retailers are losing an estimated £4.2 billion annually through stolen goods and security costs combined. Small businesses suffer most, forced to spend more on guards, surveillance, and insurance than on wages or stock. For some, the sums no longer balance. Early closures are becoming common, restricted entry is spreading. Once shops retreat, high streets hollow out, and empty spaces invite something worse. By mid-afternoon, theft in several areas had shifted into confrontation. Groups returned repeatedly, louder and more aggressive, taunting staff and daring intervention. Police responding to retail thefts reported being surrounded, verbally abused, and obstructed. Patrol vehicles were damaged. Resources were diverted from neighborhood policing to crowd control. What began as organized theft started to resemble public disorder, and disorder has a way of multiplying. The psychological toll is profound. Retail workers describe dread before shifts. Police officers report exhaustion. Communities feel abandoned. Reporting rates have collapsed, with over 90% of violent retail incidents now going unreported because staff believe nothing will change. When silence replaces trust, crime gains momentum. The system does not fail loudly, it erodes quietly. And quiet erosion reshapes behavior everywhere. This is no longer about missing stock. It is about confidence. Confidence in protection, confidence in justice, confidence that rules still apply. When offenders no longer avoid attention, when they film confrontations and challenge authority openly, the line between theft and disorder disappears. What happened at Greg's was not an anomaly, it was a signal, a warning delivered in daylight, bold as brass, and warnings ignored tend to repeat. If you have watched this far, you already understand this is not just another headline, this is a pattern unfolding in plain sight. Share your thoughts below. Have you seen this happening near you? Do you feel safer now than you did a few years ago? Stay connected, stay informed, and stay vocal, because when silence becomes normal, consequences disappear.